What if we took Magic Johnson and Steph Curry and swapped their entire NBA careers? Meaning Steph is headed to the 80s, where he'll be joining the Lakers in the introduction of the three-point line, all while Magic Johnson is now playing in the modern NBA, where he'll have tons of talent to take advantage of his playmaking in Golden State, all to determine who is the greatest point guard in NBA history. And since they're both talented in very different ways, Steph as a shooter and Magic Johnson as a do-it-all facilitator, the easiest way to determine the best will be based on their rings and MVPs they earned throughout each other's careers. All starting off with Steph, who was quickly making a name for himself here in the 80s era. This would be the first season that the NBA has introduced the three-point line, but Curry was quickly putting it to use, and his exciting shooting was stirring up a lot of commotion in the media. That's because in only his first season, he was already putting up numbers strong enough to earn him a spot as an all-star. And while he was surprisingly already in MVP conversations, he wouldn't get the award and instead would settle for Rookie of the Year. But the MVP, however, was going to be landing to his teammates. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was the best player in the league at this moment, and he only benefited from having Steph around. With his game primarily being based in the post, having an outlet to such a great shooter opened things up for him. Additionally, the pick and roll between the two was a thing of the absolute beauty, and it was clear this duo would dominate for years to come. And as they land the league's top record, they'd already have a chance to put that to the test. Starting off in the first round of the playoffs, where the 8th seeded San Antonio Spurs had no answer for Steph. Up to now, the league has been incredibly paint-oriented, and most rosters weren't tooled with an answer for a perimeter player of Curry's caliber. With this era having a best-of-5 for the first round of the playoffs, the Lakers would be advancing with a sweep, which would set the tone for how this postseason would be shaping out, because the very next round was much the same. It was utter dominance from both Steph and Kareem, and the Denver Nuggets weren't even close to competing, as the Lakers would coast into a conference finals already, and their one last hurdle to the finals would be in Utah against the Jazz. They only had one decent player, and that was Adrian Dantley. He was one of the league's better shooting guards through the late 70s and the early 80s, but even still, he wasn't close to the level of talent we had in Stephen Curry. Pair that yet again with the best player in basketball down low in the post, and it would go without saying that in only his rookie year, Steph was making the finals, and I wasn't surprised. I'm going to be honest with you, the West throughout the 80s is not very good, so you can expect the Lakers to walk straight to the NBA Finals more often than not, but in season 1, Steph already has a chance to get on the board. But while the West was weak, the East actually had some legitimate threats, which as they faced the Sixers in the finals, they'd already be experiencing that. At point, Philly had Maurice Cheeks, a 4-time All-Star and an NBA Hall of Famer. He and Steph were matched up against each other head-to-head, but overall, it was Curry standing out as the better player, even as a rookie. But the larger threat from the Sixers was Julius Erving, aka Dr. J. He was a high-flyer forward with finishing abilities never seen in the NBA, and the Lakers didn't have an answer. Without a doubt, he was one of the best players in the league, and he was going to be the biggest challenge for Steph in these finals. But at the end of the day, the Lakers still had Abdul-Jabbar, and with the Sixers not having a good center available, he was feasting throughout the whole series. Like we've seen in this entire run, nobody was a true obstacle for the Lakers, and in the biggest stage, Kareem was shining the brightest as he earned the Finals MVP for his great play. But more importantly, the Lakers were winning a championship after 6, which means for Steph, he's already getting on the board in our trophy competition. And he was on pace to keep that up, because again, the following year, the Lakers were pages ahead of the rest of the West, and Curry's personal game would benefit from it. During the regular season, his numbers were starting to increase from the year prior, and while again he'd miss out on an MVP, you have to think one was bound to come soon, which was further supported come the playoffs, where he was pushing his averages up even higher, as none of his peers in his conference were able to give him a series even worth talking about. Very similar to the prior season, every round was being won with relative ease, and before they knew it, they were back in the finals again. We're only 2 seasons in, and Steph's already at his second finals with 1 ring already. Magic Johnson hasn't even started yet. This could get ugly real quick. But don't worry too much about Magic, because one day he'll be on some insane super teams, and besides, Curry hasn't won just yet. And with his opponent being the Boston Celtics, I wasn't exactly sure that he would. Not only did they have rookie Kevin McHale, but they had an elite center in Robert Parrish, and most importantly, they had Larry Bird, Magic's would-be largest rival. He was also named the MVP of the NBA during the regular season, taking away any hope for a Steph trophy. And in front of the hometown Boston fans, he was putting on a show and proving to Steph exactly why the award went to him. The Lakers may have had the best duo on ball, but they had zero answer for Larry, who was leading his team to a strong start in the series. And as this thing heads out west to Los Angeles, the same issues were glaring. While Kareem was still providing an exceptional level of play against Robert Parrish, it wouldn't be as effective as we've seen up to now. This led to a lot of opportunities for fast breaks, and Boston was taking advantage. But with his back against the wall, down 2-0, our star would step up in the biggest way. Steph was claiming full control over the Game 3 matchup, and his shooting would work wonders as he was taking upon himself to win the scoring battle and keep his team within reach. In the end, Curry had just enough to will his team to the win, but it may have been for nothing, because the Celtics were responding instantly in the next match with a masterclass performance from the young Larry Bird. He was doing it all in the court on both ends and was taking a very strong 3-1 lead. At this point in history, this is a deficit that has never been overcome in the NBA, which put a lot of pressure on Steph. But if he could find a way to bring this thing back, it would be absolutely massive for his legacy. But the only way to dig out of this hole would be to take it game by game, and that's exactly the approach he had in the face of adversity. Game 5, he'd score 36 in an effort to keep the season alive, and then moving back home for Game 6, there was starting to be hope in this series because Curry was shocking the world as he led his team all the way back to a Game 7. But it would take place in notoriously one of the most challenging arenas to compete in. The only bright side for Steph being they had all the momentum. And when it came down to it, Curry's shooting was a massive advantage over any other player. Nobody else was shooting like him from behind the arc, and those extra points would add up. Even though Bird was having another legacy-defining performance, this thing was still close down the stretch with the results undecided. Only 2 seasons in, we're already at a close climatic series against the Celtics. I'm sure we will see a lot of this. Game 7 down by 2 to Boston. The Lakers have the ball though. They inbound it to Wilkes. They get it over to Cooper. They're going to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar here. Robert Parrish on him. Steph trying to get the ball now. He has it. The ISO, nowhere to go. The paint is crowded. Throws it down low to Cooper. Kareem, his hook is off. A little late. He gets fouled. Free throw number 1 with the game on the line. He misses. That's a huge miss for sure. He can still get the game within 1 though if he hits this second free throw. About 30 seconds left on the clock. Kareem, free throw number 2 is good. He gets it within 1. I imagine they're going to foul. You want to try to deny that ball from Larry Bird here. You want to force someone else to hit these free throws in the clutch. They get it inbounded at Henderson. They're not going to foul. They're just playing defense here. Larry Bird with it. He's driving it in, wasting some clock. I imagine they're going to burn the rest of this clock here. Larry Bird at the top. Motion off the ball. Larry Bird, the right side. He kicks it over to Parrish. The mid, he can even shoot. He can't shoot there. Lakers have no timeouts. 4 seconds. Steph, you got to push the pace. He gives it to Cooper. Cooper driving in. His leg for the win. It's off. It is off at the buzzer. The Boston Celtics hang on by 1 in Game 7. As Cooper was taking that shot, you have to wonder why Steph didn't have it. But even though they lost, this series would set the stage for the 80s. But before we get into that, let's head to 2010. Magic was kicking off his rookie year in the blue and yellow as a member of the Golden State Warriors. A lot like Steph, his game was quickly meshing with this era of ball, and you could even argue his game was translating better than Curry so far, because the stats he put up as a first-year player were borderline unbelievable. With his skill set, he was averaging nearly a triple-double and was doing everything on the court for his team, whether it be scoring the basketball, dishing out assists to get teammates involved, or simply pulling down rebounds and pushing the pace. No matter what it was, the comparisons he was generating were certainly setting high expectations for his career. But the only problem was his supporting cast didn't offer someone of Kareem's caliber like Steph has. Golden State's roster as a whole was lacking, and it would unsurprisingly fall very short of those expectations. Over his first few seasons in the NBA, other teams were treating the matches like free wins, because more often than not, they were. Magic's career was starting off far worse than Curry's, with his first few seasons resulting in missed playoffs or being bounced very early. With no trophies to show in his first 3 years, it was clear he needed some help, and that help was on the way.
Out of Washington State University, number 11, Klay Thompson.
In 2013, Klay Thompson was in his second year and was beginning to break out as an elite 3-and-D player. This was absolutely massive for Magic, as he now had a player he could kick the rock to and knew he consistently knocked down the shot. But it wasn't only his playmaking that got a boost thanks to Klay's evolution, but his scoring expanded as well with the added spacing from number 11. With a legit running mate by his side now, not only were the Warriors getting their best record so far, but Johnson was having his best season so far, and with that said, it was enough for him to earn an MVP. With Curry sharing the ball with Kareem, I did expect Magic Johnson to get the first MVP in the simulation, but I did not expect him to get it this quickly. But you really cannot deny it from him. 25 points a game, 7.5 boards, 10 assists a night. He's getting into playoffs. Hopefully he can start doing some winning though, because he has yet to win a single playoff series. And luckily for him, the first round of the playoffs this year had a great matchup against a significantly smaller guard in CP3. This meant that Magic was going to completely destroy him down low in the post, or at least you'd think that would happen. Instead, the more experienced Lob City Clippers were dunking their way through each game, and before I could barely blink, the series was over. I'm honestly at a loss for words. Magic Johnson's put up great numbers the past couple seasons, even got an MVP, but is not leading to any team success. I think the lack of shooting is a huge problem and it's causing a lot of struggle. But Steph Curry, on the other hand, is doing anything but struggling. Because if we go back to the 80s, Steph isn't winning any MVPs yet, but he was gonna be winning some more rings. In 1982, he would have a rematch with the Sixers, who had relatively the same roster as before. This time though, Steph has vastly improved since their first finals matchup, and while Kareem led the charge in 1980, it was now Steph leading the charge here. His finals averages were through the roof and were far ahead of the averages he had put up during the regular season. This big jump in his game would be a major outcome in this series, as the Lakers end up sweeping the 76ers this time around to earn another ring, which extends Steph's lead in this competition. And with the 1983 season fully underway, Steph was going to be starting to run away with this thing. I don't know how else to put it other than to say the season he was having this year was one of the best statistical performances we've ever seen in NBA history. It was becoming obvious that his level of play with shooting the basketball was a priceless advantage over the rest of the league in this era. This is ridiculous. 30 points, 12 assists a night, but the shooting averages, this genuinely might be the greatest statistical season I've ever seen in any Sims, and Steph Curry is making this look easy. This competition, it genuinely might not even be close, because they'd be back in the finals again versus the Sixers. This time around, they added a big man to compete with Kareem down low in the paint, and it was Moses Malone, one of the NBA's best ever and Kareem's biggest challenge. In real life, the finals would feature this exact same matchup, and them signing Malone was apparently the missing piece of the puzzle, because they would end up sweeping Magic and the Lakers this year. But now with Steph swapped out for Johnson, things would be very different, with Curry averaging over 30 points per night and shooting even more efficiently than he did in the regular season. With the way these finals were going, it was becoming obvious that this era was Steph's for the taking. He was fitting in just fine, and history was completely rewritten. The Lakers weren't just winning against Philly, but they ended up sweeping them in this reality. All led by the finals MVP, Steph Curry, as he adds another ring to his resume, and there was no signs of the winning stopping, because the next several finals in a row would all feature Steph against the same opponent over and over again. This is why I don't like to do Sims in the 80s. There's only like 3 good teams, so you see the same teams over and over, very repetitive. But there have been a lot of comments asking for some Sims in these other eras, so here you go. But before we watch Steph play the Celtics like 5 times in a row, let's check back in on Magic Johnson, who was once again having an unbelievably impressive regular season. He was looking like one of the best all-around players we've ever seen, as he gained another MVP award, and his numbers were sky high as he nearly averaged a triple-double. But we've seen this story already from Magic, performing well in the regular season and falling short in the playoffs. But with the top record, this year could be different. However, round 1 was looking to be a scare, because the gritty Grizzlies in game 1 were firing on all cylinders, and led by their big man Marc Gasol, were still in the first game on the road. This sparked panic and controversy that yet again Magic was failing when it actually mattered. But in an effort to prove the world wrong, he was finally flipping the script in the following 4 matches with huge game after huge game, and finally he was winning his first ever playoff series of his career. And that newfound momentum would carry into the second round, where Magic was getting his revenge against the Clippers, who beat him the year prior. We expected Johnson to dominate CP3 in the last matchup, but he fell short. However, this year was a completely different narrative, and Magic wasn't going to let history repeat itself. Pretty impressive to go from no playoff series wins at all to making the conference finals this year in just 9 games. I'm not gonna lie, Magic's starting to do his thing. And with Durant waiting, he was gonna need to be on his A game. Haiti was the NBA's leading scorer this year, and he'd make this series very different than the previous 2. The Warriors had Andre Iguodala to throw at Durant, but there's only so much you could do against a near 7-foot man capable of shooting the ways that he could. It would end up boiling down to if Magic was able to will his team beyond the outstanding scoring from OKC. This matchup also wouldn't be as simple for Magic as the last was against CP3. Westbrook was a much larger and stronger guard that could make things more difficult for Magic, but after years of failure, he wasn't going to go out easy. The series would end up pushing to 7, and Magic had a chance to make the finals. Luckily for him, this season deciding game would be on their home floor, so Magic would have the advantage in this matchup, but it didn't really matter in Durant's eyes. He was coming into this game scorching hot and was eager to fight for his spot back in the finals after losing to LeBron a couple years ago. Durant brought his best and put his team in great position, but so did Magic. Johnson was special in game 7 with the lights the absolute brightest they've been so far in his career. He was matching the star power of OKC, and he would be pushing his game to a climactic finish. We have a game 7 here, minute and a half left. The Warriors are down by 4, but they have the ball. If they win here, they get a trip to the NBA Finals. This could be huge, making the finals. Klay Thompson winning now. They have Magic Johnson down low with the smaller Westbrook on him. Johnson, the little drops of his hook is good to get them within 2. Magic stepping it up when it matters the most, trying to get to that first ever finals. Kevin Durant now, he's got Iggy on him. They throw down low to Westbrook. Westbrook trying to get his back on Magic. He kicks out low, back to Cephalosha. Russell Westbrook driving in, blows by Magic. Oh, I thought he was finna end Bogut's career, but they call a block and foul. I've never seen that animation on 2K, but nonetheless, Westbrook is on the line. Historically, he's not a great free throw shooter. Absolutely a possibility he misses one, but he does sink the first in the clutch, puts him up by 3, just shy of a minute. Free throw number 2 for Russ. It's up in the air, and it's good. He gets him back up within 4. Magic got it done last time they were on offense. Can he get it done again? Trying to cut down this lead. They need a score here. Running low on time. Magic has it. Clay trying to get open here. Magic, the phenomenal facilitator. You can expect him to find someone. He finds Bogut. Bogut goes up with a tough lay. Bogut misses over Cephalosha. Westbrook on the break all by himself. Fumbles the ball a little bit. Russ going all the way back to the line. Westbrook hit the first free throw. The second free throw will put him up by 6. The Warriors are starting to run low on time now. He does hit both. They're up by 6. 35 seconds left. You have enough time to get it done, but you don't have any time to waste here. You have to come up with something quick. You have to get some more points on the board. Bogut setting the screen for Clay. They're going back down low to Magic. It worked once. Can it work again? He kicks it back out to Clay. Clay pulls the trigger. Oh, it's off. I thought that was about to go in. Russ, more free throws. He did actually miss the first one this time, so it's still a 6-point game. The second free throw is up. It's good. 7 points, 20 seconds left. Timeout. They're going to need a miracle. A 7-point deficit. Things are not looking good for Golden State. I've seen crazier things happen in the NBA, though, so we're going to at least give them a chance. See what they can get done here. Iggy inbounds it. It gets knocked by Kevin Durant. Inbound play number 2 now. It's Iguodala again trying to inbound this ball, not Magic Johnson. He gets to the corner to Bogut. Bogut nowhere to go. Iguodala has to pull a fast one. Fade to the earth. Our Iguodala. He airballs it in the clutch. That's gonna do it. After so many failures, getting this close and coming up short would be rough, but the pain wasn't ending there. Magic would have another solid year, but lose the MVP race to LeBron, but he still had more playoff success. Again, in the conference finals, OKC was waiting for Magic. And just like last season, Durant was too much to contain as he beat Golden State in 6, and the doubts were growing.
He's a regular season dynamo. He's made for our Sports Center plays of the night because he's always #1 in the regular season. But come postseason time, he's the most overrated, overhyped superstar in my history in this business. Seriously.
Now as we approach the 2016 season, Magic's entire legacy is on the line, because this will be the season that the Warriors won 73 games, which implies just how great this team was. So there are absolutely zero excuses for Magic if he fails again. With all eyes watching what he can get done with his best supporting roster yet, Magic would force his way back to the title of MVP, as he was the leading force of the team with the best record. And while they didn't get 73 wins like the Curry Warriors, they'd still land 70 wins and one of the most impressive seasons ever. With the conference finals being against OKC for the 3rd year in a row, it was finally looking like everything had finally lined up to compete for a ring. Magic was getting his team involved, and they were knocking down shots left and right. Pair that with Magic aggressively attacking, and you'd have a formula for success. After 7 long seasons, finally, Magic was making it to his first ever NBA Finals, except an even stronger foe was waiting. King James and the Cavaliers were going to be the final hurdle. We all know LeBron is one of, if not the greatest player of all time, and he would be sure to give the Warriors everything he had. But you don't just get 70 wins without being great, and Magic was showing the world that all his work was finally going to pay off. He was kicking off the series already with a 1-0 lead early. Moving into Game 2, he kept doing what was working in Game 1, and it led to his team leading for the majority of the match, and he had the possibility to take an enormous 2-0 lead in the finals, but he'd have to hang on in the final moments. The Warriors are currently trailing by 2 late in Game 2, up 1-0 in the series. The difference between 1-1 and 2-0 is enormous, so winning here would be huge for the Warriors. Kyrie has it. They get it down low to LeBron James. Andre on him. Kick it back up to Kyrie. Magic guarding him. Waiters is wide open. Clay's able to recover here, though. 7 seconds left on the shot clock. They get it to LeBron. LeBron's pumped. Is that not a trap? I could have sworn he dribbled. LeBron floater. It's off. The Warriors have a chance now to tie this one up or take the lead. Iguodala pushing the pace. Starting to slow it down. He swings it over to Klay Thompson. Klay getting the screen from Bogut. Klay serving in the field. There's Magic Johnson wide open there with Kyrie Irving. The smaller Kyrie on him. The double team comes. Magic's... Oh, no. Klay can't catch the ball. LeBron wide open on the break. These computers never cease to amaze me. How does Klay not catch it? Down by 4 now with a minute This is a big game to win. Magic driving into a crowded paint. Draymond Green in the corner. They swing it back out to Magic Johnson. You have to attack Kyrie. He's too small. The little spin. Clay, open. That's got to be good for 3. 1 point game now. Cleveland up by 1. You get a stop here. You are in fantastic position. What a shot from Klay Thompson. What a pass from Magic. Kyrie gets it down low to LeBron. Driving it in on Andre Iguodala. Down low in the paint. Waiters is open, and he matches Klay's 3. Warriors timeout. Warriors are now down by 4 after a, quite honestly, possibly a dagger from Dion Waiters there to put Cleveland back up after Klay's huge shot. Magic Johnson has it now, driving on Irving, had a wide open lane ops for the mini. What are they doing, man? What are they doing? LeBron did split the free throws, but it's still a 5-point game with 22 seconds left. I don't think Golden State has a chance here. I think that this series is going to be 1-1, but maybe they can prove me wrong. Klay, the little pull-up fade away from deep. He gets it in. 2-point game. Hold on. If you can either get a steal here or make them split the free throws, you don't want Kyrie shooting them, though. Kyrie hit both free throws. I feel like you should have let LeBron get the ball there. He might have missed one, but Klay Thompson is coming up huge here in these final moments, and he's open again in the corner. Klay, he pulls it. Quick trigger. I thought he was going to make it. LeBron hit both the free throws. No timeouts left. I don't think it's possible now. I think they've ran out of the last hope. Draymond Green, Klay, another miracle 3. That was off. The series is going 1-1. What a disappointing loss for the Warriors. It felt like Cleveland took the heart and soul out of the Warriors with that close loss at home. And going out to Cleveland for the next 2, LeBron would lead his team to a commanding position in the series, going up 3-1. And while Magic would have enough left in the tank to squeeze out another win at home, in the end, LeBron and the Cavs would close this out in Game 6 to defeat the Warriors. But the losing would surely stop soon because everything was changing.
Well, I'm viewing it as the weakest move I've ever seen from a superstar. Plain and simple. That's just how I look at it.
With Durant now joining the Warriors, it was all but guaranteed that Magic would finally find some success. It was a dream pairing as Johnson was racking in the assists all season long, and by no surprise, it would be recognized. Magic Johnson, another MVP, really benefiting from adding Kevin Durant. Almost 11 assists a night, but more importantly, 32 points a game. He's really benefiting from having a secondary shot creator in KD, and I can almost guarantee they're going to do some winning this year. Back in the finals again, Magic would have the chance to earn revenge on LeBron, and the same for KD, who has lost to James the past 2 years. And a revenge they'd get, because this duo was easily the greatest tandem we've had in the history of the league. They were destroying Cleveland game after game until they'd become NBA champions. Meaning Magic finally has earned a ring and will add this to his trophy collection, but his revenge on LeBron will continue. We'd have the exact same matchup the following season in the finals, and again, the Warriors were far too talented for the Cavaliers to compete with, and they'd be repeat champions. And that wasn't all for Magic, who also earned another MVP, now pushing his total trophy count to 7 with plenty years left. And to top things off, they were going for the three-peat in the finals against Toronto in 2019, which would be just as much of a breeze as the previous 2 years with Durant, bringing Magic's trophies to 3 rings and 5 MVPs with no signs of stopping. All until Durant decided to join the Brooklyn Nets the following season. And from there, to keep things short, Magic was losing year after year after year. With no more success through 2024, Magic's total trophy count was locked at 8. 3 rings and 5 MVPs is pretty solid. It gives him a noticeable lead, but that's kind of because we haven't talked about Curry in a while, and there's a good reason for it. The reason being that Steph was going to completely run away with this competition. As we mentioned a while ago, he was facing Bird and the Celtics for the next several years, and every time he was completely beating the brakes off of Boston to win ring after ring to go along with MVP after MVP. There was absolutely no losing for Steph during the 80s, as he ran up 8 straight NBA titles versus both Boston and Detroit, and to go along with it, he earned 6 more MVPs. In 1990 and 91, he'd end up losing to Jordan before retiring, but in his 12 seasons in the league, he got 11 total rings and 7 MVPs and completely blew Magic out of the water. Curry was the real deal and took full control of the 80s and made himself easily the undisputed greatest point guard of all time. But can he become the greatest player of all time if he teamed up with LeBron? Find out by clicking this video next.